Hey guys, this is John. I'm playing SH81 in a 15 plus 10 game on chess.com. I have the white pieces. I'm going to open with knight f3, a flexible move. Knight f3 on move 1. My opponent plays c5. I'll play c4. We'll play it English. So I actually used to play knight f3 on move 1 prior to learning d4. I was interested in Vladimir Kramnik's games. Let's play g3 here. And he was a big knight f3 practitioner throughout his career. So I ended up learning it. Okay, bishop g2. Black's going to put the bishop on b7, no doubt. Let's castle here. This is all theory. So usually white goes knight c3 and tries to prepare d4 at some moment. Pawn break in the center. Depends a bit on what black does. Okay, let's play knight c3. So moves I faced here, knight e4, d6, of course, setting up a hedgehog type formation. Bishop e7 would be fine too. Yep, black plays bishop e7. So white can either play d4 immediately, and then after c takes d4, take with a queen, most ambitious, or play rook e1 followed by e4. I think I'm going to go for the rook e1 option. I have a little bit more experience with this. So trying to make sure that this is well prepared, defended twice. Black could play d5 right now to try to prevent me from playing e4, but then I'll take... And I generally like playing those positions. If black takes back with the pawn, I can play d4 at that point. Bishop f4. Black may have the hanging pawn formation eventually. Black does play d5. Okay, take. Yeah, and I have faced knight takes on d5 here before too. Actually, I have a game I played over the board against maybe about a 2,000 rated USCF player where I'm pretty sure I played e4 at this juncture. Yeah, e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, followed by d4. So... let's go ahead and do that. Try to preserve my time for later, shall we? So this is 15 plus 10. We got that 10-second increment. A little bit longer of a standard game. I've been playing some 10-minute recently in this time category. But nice to have that increment. Yeah, so take towards the center. Looking to prop up the d4 advance. This reminds me a lot of a Semi-Tarrasch as well. Some similarities there, except with white's light square bishop fianchettoed. Okay, knight d7, reasonable. I don't think there's too many moves to consider here other than d4, so let's go ahead and play it. Build up that nice pawn center. So now, assuming black castles... I like the idea of just bishop f4 to start with. I may do a minority attack of sorts, a4, a5, attack on the queen side. Okay, knight here. So black foregoing castling. Now, that makes me think maybe I can throw in queen a4 check. Queen a4 check, if black plays queen d7, perhaps trade. That would be an interesting way to play it. And then try to attack from there. Knight takes d7, maybe play d5. I could also just play knight e5 and see what happens next, because knight e5 prepares queen a4 check, so likely black will castle to safety. If I play knight e5, I just like to have a follow-up in mind. I don't see anything that really catches my eye at that point. But yeah, knight e5 is just a helpful move. Helps defend e4 as well, because I get my bishop involved. d5 is the idea in these positions. d5 takes and then e5. Although here, I don't think it looks great. Black can play knight e4, the knight is anchored. Just seeing if I can somehow profit from black having kept their king in the center a bit longer than normal. So again, I'm looking at queen a4 again. Queen a4, queen d7, take. If black takes with the king, I'm happy. I get knight e5 with check. So I really think knight takes d7 would be critical there. And that d5 move is just very interesting to me. Yeah, I still haven't developed my dark square bishop. I'm also vaguely considering bishop a3 here, with the idea of bishop takes a3, then queen a4 check, pick up the bishop, try to prevent black from castling, but I think black's just going to castle if I play bishop a3, castle directly. Okay, so a bit of a decision. Still mostly between knight e5 and queen a4 check, I think. You really don't want to play e5 in a position like this, because that gives black this d5 outpost. I mean, I could play queen a4 check at that point, but queen d7, I don't like the look of that position. So gonna pass on that option. Okay, let's play knight e5. Thought about it a little bit. I think keeping the tension is best. Yeah, have the bishop help out. Maybe just bishop f4 after black castles. Just coordinate. I like the bishop on f4. Black can't harass it easily with knight h5 because my queen is guarding that square. So I think this makes the most sense. Unless I want to put the bishop on b2. But it's kind of nice to have the bishop slicing into black's position this way. Yeah, let's do that. If black plays bishop b4 attacking my rook, I was thinking just rook e3 would be all right. So we're on move 14. I have a reasonable amount of time left, so nice to get out of the opening in good shape time-wise. I think I have a slightly preferable position here with the pawn center. Nice e4, d4 pawn duo, but this is solid for black. Black doesn't have too many weaknesses. Black does have a majority on the queen side, although it's pretty tough for black to attack with that majority. Most of my opportunities are going to be in the center, maybe on the queen side, so black plays rook c8. Yeah, I can consider doing something like queen a4, let's say, going after this a pawn. That actually may be a decent idea to facilitate rook ad1. Maybe I should make use of this opportunity and do that, although I have to beware that knight h5 is lurking if I decide to play queen a4, although black probably won't play that yet. So let's say queen a4, a6, rook ad1, looking for d5 type ideas. Yeah, knight h5 I can play maybe just bishop back to e3, looks fine. Interesting. Yeah, I could also play a4, look for a5. It's a bit of a slower plan. Not sure I'm convinced by it. d5 right away. Not sure about. Take. There's bishop h3 perhaps to try to attack this rook on c8, but don't think that's great. I'm going to go with queen a4, I think. Just see what black does about this. I think a6 is most likely. And then use that opportunity to get the rook over to d1. I'm not going to try to dispute the c-file. I want to focus on trying to play pawn to d5 if I get the chance. So try to train my big guns, my major pieces on the d5 square, on the d-file in preparation for that pawn advance. So, let's say a6, rook ad1, b5, attacking the queen. I think I'm happy to play queen b3, look to get that pawn advance in. I'm actually playing a little bit earlier than usual today. It's about 4:15 in the afternoon. I know that's perhaps late for some of you guys playing chess. But I do most of my chess playing in my recording in the evening or sometimes even very late at night because I tend to be busy during the day and like to wait till the sun goes down to really fire up my games and dig into them. If you play over the board, though, in tournaments, you're at the mercy of the tournament schedule. So for me in the past, playing at, like 9 a.m., playing a serious game at 9 a.m. has been a problem. My brain just tends not to wake up chess-wise, at least, in the early morning like that. But you adapt. Trying to think if there's any other moves that black could reasonably play here. I mean, a5 also protects the a pawn, but I don't think you like to create that structure. Usually the pawns are going to be better on a6, b6, and black looking to play b5. And if a5, I could do the exact same thing. I could even switch plans and maybe play rook ab1 and try to target this pawn. So yeah, I don't really see what else black could consider here. If knight h5... because like I said, that move is possible now that my queen isn't defending that square. I can probably take here. Take, knight takes f4, g takes f4. I'm on the bishop, so black doesn't have time to do this. Play queen takes b7. And my pawn on f4 will be defending the knight on e5 at the end of that line, so that's no good for black. I think black's probably feeling a little bit cramped here. I am very curious if I do get to play rook ad1 and this d5 thrust is hanging over black's head, how black will react to that. Yeah, and this bishop on f4 definitely has a slightly unjarring presence. Or jarring, I should say, not unjarring. A jarring presence, because queen c7 is a move that I'm restricting. Okay, black really surprises me here. Goes back to a8 with the rook. I mean, I'm happy to see that from my perspective, because it just gives me a lot of nice looking options here. I mean, rook ad1 as planned. Also knight c6, now that black is no longer disputing the c6 square twice. Knight c6. But rook ad1 and trying to push d5. I think that's going to be my default here. If I want the bishop, though, I can get the bishop pair. It's kind of a nice option. I wonder which bishop black would give up. Because black could play queen e8 or queen d7 and give up the dark square bishop if I play knight c6. Or they could, of course, just take straight away. d5 right now, also strangely alluring, although looks a little bit early to play it. I think I'd rather have that rook on d1 to do it. So if I play rook ad1, let's say black plays queen e8, because I probably don't want to trade, let's say queen b3 then. Yeah, with e5 coming, man, it just starts to look good for me. Yeah, I'm going to play rook ad1. Let's put black under pressure again. Keep knight c6 in reserve. When your opponents are cramped, usually you don't want to trade pieces. So that will relieve the congestion in their position if you do, to some degree. I mean, it may be correct to trade in some cases, but okay, queen e8. Yeah, so that was probably going to be the answer to knight c6. So I again, don't really want to trade here. So I think I'm going to play queen b3. And now I'm really looking to get d5 in. And if there's a trade of pawns here, my rook on e1 could be handy, opposing that queen on e8. So if I were black in this position, I mean, I would consider moving the knight for sure, like knight d7 or again, knight h5. Try to threaten various trades, distract me from this goal of playing d5. Don't think rook d8 is really going to help because I have d5 defended multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times here. So black can't really stop d5. It's mostly a question of how to respond once d5 is played. So I'm trying to use this time right now to figure out what I'm going to do against both knight d7 and knight h5. I don't really see too many other moves that I would consider playing here as black. So let's start with knight h5. Knight h5 hits the bishop. I probably want to keep that bishop. So I would lean towards even something like bishop c1. Don't know if I'd want to put the bishop on e3 because that blocks my rook down the e-file. I don't know that I want to allow knight takes f4. Probably not. That just seems to compromise my structure a bit. Yeah, so I think on knight h5, I'll probably be leaning towards bishop c1. Now knight d7. Knight d7, I may just play d5 or take and then play d5. Slight preference for playing d5 immediately. So knight d7, d5. Okay, knight h5 is played. Yeah, I'm going to play bishop c1. Play it pretty fast, too. An undeveloping move, moving the bishop back to the original square. But I already have my rook on d1. It's not sitting on a1 where it'd be blocked in. So I like the look of this. And now I think it would make sense for black to try to attack this knight, maybe with their bishop. So bishop d6, let's say. But I can consider knight c4 and again d5. Also, black has to beware about potential tactical ideas against that knight on h5. I don't see exactly how I'm going to take advantage of that knight, but it is loose over here. It's on the edge of the board. It's undefended. So that could be the genesis for some tactics later. I wonder if my bishop will make an appearance on b2 later. Very possible. Okay, bishop d6, as I was alluding to. I think knight c4 looks pretty nice here. Knight c4 followed by d5. Yeah, and let's continue playing fast. I've largely felt my moves have been pretty natural up to this point, and I really like my position. It's pretty easy to play fast when you like your position. Although sometimes I start hemming and hawing between good options, trying to work on that. Clock as a weapon series has been great in helping me work on that. Okay, okay, here I can win an exchange. Knight takes d6, queen takes d6, bishop a3. That wins a very clean exchange. It's going to be a skewer on the queen and the rook here. I'm just checking to see if there's some way I can involve this knight in the tactic, or maybe even this bishop, because if I take here, there's ideas like e5 hitting the bishop, but black retreats and defends it, say something like queen d7. So maybe that's nothing. But then the knight is cut off. Okay, this is interesting. This is very interesting. So take, bishop a3. We're operating from the point that just wins an exchange. If nothing else that I look at here is good, I'm going to go for that. But take e5. That's going to force the queen to go and defend the bishop somewhere. So let's say queen d7. Bishop takes b7, queen takes b7, and then I have this nice move g4. And that knight is a goner out there because I'm controlling the f4 square with my bishop. Also, my pawn on e5 will be defending the square that the knight would like to drop back to. So that line looks very forcing to me. Yeah, and actually if black drops the knight back to f6, then I would take, black would take back. I also win 2 points of material there. So this is more complicated, and arguably I'm winning the same amount of material, but I get to trade more. I also get to get rid of black's knight. I like my dark square bishop, so I think I'm going to go for that. Again, I'm just going to double check here that I'm not missing any wacky moves. Take e5. I mean, black pretty much has to play queen somewhere to defend the bishop. Take, yeah, g4. My king's a little open, but there's no way for black to take advantage. Take d6, queen takes e5. Bishop d5 is not going to work. I just take, and I can even just calmly recapture. Let's do it. Okay, e5. But yeah, realistically, both of those options were very good. Okay. And that's a good pattern to know with this knight getting trapped on the side of the board here. If you can control those flight squares, especially f6 and f4, because usually they're not going to have access to g7 unless they've fianchettoed or for some reason moved their g-pawn. But yeah, if you can take away these options, then this g4 move is killer. And I like this line because I feel like I'm going to have an ongoing attack against black's king. I mean, black kind of has a free move here to try to do something, create a threat, or create some sort of compensation. But, I mean, with black's pieces being pretty poorly placed, aside from the queen, which does have a nice diagonal, but no way to create something down that diagonal. No bishop that could make a battery. So that was another part of the calculation, seeing that black couldn't create a good threat here to distract me from just winning the knight. I mean, black could try to lash out with the f-pawn or something, although that even loses the pawn on e6 with check, perhaps. So I think it's likely black's going to play knight f6, take, and maybe then I'll go bishop h6. Might still play d5 in the center. Yep, knight f6, let's take it. Okay, so do I want to play d5 right away? D5 right away or bishop h6? Maybe bishop h6 is actually slightly premature and I would do better to play d5 immediately. I certainly don't mind trades if we're going to swap stuff on the d5 square, but d5, I feel like I might be inducing black to play e5, and then I could strike real quick. Bishop h6, queen f3. Yeah, start hammering black. Let's do it. Let's play d5. A little bit more flexibility. Keep black guessing as to the intentions of this bishop. Yeah, in fact, if e5 is played, maybe I even go queen f3 to attack this pawn. As if black plays king g7, then I would have bishop to h6 check. Okay, so black takes it. Yeah, queen takes or rook takes. Both are good here. Really can't go wrong with either. Let's play queen takes. Just nice to centralize the queen. Don't mind a trade. Black could move somewhere and try to attack my g-pawn, but I think that just allows me to shift my queen over to the king side. Yeah, black declines to trade. Now black is threatening this g-pawn. Queen f3 looks pretty nice here. Come back and defend. Also hit that pawn. Not really worried about the queen coming anywhere down the file here, so I think queen f3 is looking nice. Could also lift the rook, but I think I'm going to play queen f3. It'd be really nice if black played king g7. That just would afford me this great opportunity to play bishop h6 check, and if king takes h6, queen takes f6 as mate, with the pawn controlling one of the flight squares. So that would be a nice way to end things here, but we'll see what black does. Yeah, I feel things started to go astray for black on move 15. Black spent 2 minutes and 46 seconds on that move and played rook a8. I really felt like a6 was the only decent move there to try to start pushing me back, because rook a8, I gained the option to play knight c6. That plan of playing the rook over and going d5 was super straightforward. I think black has to push back against that a little bit. And note that the queen can't come to the 6th rank to defend the pawn. Just basically impossible to defend this pawn, because it also can't come down to c3. My queen is covering that square. Can't go to d8. Thing is, I don't know if I want to take it immediately on the next move, because black will play queen takes g4. Although, arguably, if we maintain the status quo here, I could just sidestep. Okay, f5. Thinking about bishop h6. Might play bishop h6 before even taking. Bishop h6 with the idea that if black takes, I play queen f6. Threatening mate, also threatening the rook. Yeah, queen takes f5. Also looking plenty good here. But let's play bishop h6. Get that bishop involved. Coming into the game with a gain of time. And if the rook goes here or here, I can take it with either of my rooks and then play queen takes f5. That's what I'm thinking. Thanks to those of you who are still watching. I know oftentimes it becomes less interesting when the opponent's in a lost position, but converting your advantages, still an incredibly important aspect of getting better at chess. Just being real clean about winning positions, winning one games. So, still trying to play well here, not taking anything for granted. Rook e8, yeah, and I was thinking take, queen takes f5. Just looking to see if black has some sort of queen e2 move, but I am threatening mate in 2 at that point, so that looks pretty decisive. Let's do it. So now I'm up a full piece. And a mate in 2 on deck. That to avoid, black's going to have to offer a queen trade. Further simplification, queen here. If queen e6... I'll likely just trade and play rook into d7. That looks pretty strong. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to do this. Black's rook is totally passive. Their king is boxed in here. I have moves like rook e7 if I want to go after the e-pawn, so probably I'm going to be winning another pawn or two very soon. The only thing black has going for him is this majority, but that's not a mobile majority, so hard for black to do much. Okay, so a6. So which pawns do I go after? This would be kind of a fork of those 2 pawns. Double attack, rather. I kind of like rook e7, or even throwing in a check first. Maybe I throw in a check. Yeah, just to force that king to the corner. And then play rook e7. That looks pretty no-nonsense. Just make it that much more difficult for black to escape any sort of mating net. Make it impossible for them to bring their rook out from the back rank. Yes, now let's go take this. Go take this guy. Okay, and black resigns. So thanks to SH81 for the game. So rook a8. I think that was the moment where black started slipping downhill here. That was on move 15. Had black played a6, a6, rook a d1, and let's say b5, queen b3. I still like my position with d5 looming, but I think black's a lot more prepared to do something there. Maybe queen b6 or queen a5. So, yeah, I think black probably should have kept that knight on d7 too. You know, here I was mentioning castles, because castles is a necessary move. Knight f6 is an optional move. I mean, black needs to get their king out of the center extremely fast here, especially if queen a4 is on deck. So you should always opt for the necessary moves first before you play the stuff that may or may not be good. So I don't think black gained much by playing knight f6, although it did cause me to think about queen a4 check. I did spend 2 minutes on this move. I think that was my longest think of the game. But yeah, I'll be curious what the computer says about this position right here. In, you know, bishop d6, and especially queen e7, this ended up losing material, but I think the position's already trending downhill for black here. I guess black should play bishop e7, because otherwise the bishop might come to a3. And I think I can just play d5. I mean, everything is going in white's favor here. Just beautifully centralized pieces supporting this pawn advance. Threats like d6 or taking. You know, maybe I can take advantage of this knight. Lots of good options here, but black's still fighting. I mean, maybe try to put the bishop on c5 to stabilize things. But I bet white has a significant advantage. So from my perspective, I'll just check a couple things with the engine, see if I could have played, you know, maybe this early middle game better, but I'm mainly curious to see what black should have done different. All right, so let's click into the analysis. Yeah, so this was in English. The symmetrical kind of hedgehog-y line for black. Rook e1, and black went for d5. Also possible to play knight e4 or d6, like I was saying, or castles first. If we check the opening explorer here, yeah, you can see d6 is the main move. Castles, d5, knight e4. I actually had a game, I think, with Danny Wrench one time, where he played knight e4 against me from the World Open many, many years ago in Philadelphia. But yeah, just to kind of show you how this line usually goes, let's say d6, e4. That was the point of rook e1 preparing this. a6, d4, take, knight takes. Now queen c7. Actually a well-known trap here. If black castles, they run into e5 with multiple attacks here on the knight and the bishop. And if bishop takes g2, there's e takes f6 in between move. White wins a piece with that. So that's why black has to be careful with their move order and why queen c7 is the main move. Queen c7, bishop e3, knight bd7, rook c1, castles, f4. Very typical position for this line. Black has the classic hedgehog formation. I did a video on the hedgehog if you're curious. This is an English hedgehog, a bit different from what I covered in that video. But there are a lot of interesting plans here for black. This is a whole galaxy of possible setups and plans, ideas that could happen from here. So going back to the game, yeah, he preferred that d5 move, trying to interfere with me playing e4. So c takes, knight takes. Yeah, e takes is another way of playing. I was going to go d4 here, and then usually bishop f4 thereafter. So knight takes, yeah, e4. We're still following a good number of games in this position. And like I said, I believe I have a tournament game from a few years ago in this line. So this has all been played. Yeah, now here we're starting to get into some rare territory. So usually in this position, black castles. Okay, so not even committing to the trade. Interesting. And white typically develops the bishop at this point. Yeah, bishop f4 looks pretty standard. Some good percentages for white. I just intuitively like white's position here. I think most people will slightly prefer white with the pawn center, but you know, as long as black is mindful of the d5 idea later on, I think these positions are playable for black, albeit somewhat passive. So there was this trade, and yeah, again, we're still following 13 games if black were to castle here, but black played knight f6. So let's just check castles. So if castles, white puts the bishop on f4, b2. Yeah, I've seen it played both ways. I don't rightly know which way is better. Probably I would have played bishop f4. Okay, so this actually transposes to the game. Interesting. So if that's the case, then black's move order actually was good for him because it made me think about whether to play queen a4 check or not. But I will look at that with the engine Just curious how these 4 games went, since this is exactly what happened. Yeah, in a6. I think, again, rook a8, too passive. So if a6, rook d1, b5. This is the value of using the database, guys. So 4 games where white apparently scored quite well here. 3.5 out of 4 from this position, or 3 out of 4, because I was liking this possibility with d5 coming. What does the engine say about this? Well, that's going to throw things off. Let me turn off that evaluation bar. Lines, that's what we want. Yeah, engine gives a nice little advantage here for white. Nothing too crazy, though. And rook e8 is an accurate move, apparently. Rook e8, and if white plays d5, yeah, bishop h3 also makes a good deal of sense, too. But this is what white's mainly going for. And then looking to land something like knight c6, or maybe d6 as well. d6 would be a great idea if I could open up a double attack towards f7 and also hit the bishop. So this appears to be better for white. Although I don't know if I'd want to rush the knight c6 move. Maybe something like this. Even in the case that there's an eventual trade here, I could see how white's better despite the pawn structure. Strong bishop supporting this pawn on c6. Yeah, very annoying pawn. For the moment, black's solid. But that's roughly what white's going for here. Okay, so let's back up to the game and see. So right when black plays rook to a8 instead. So let me turn off the Explorer. Oh, actually, yeah, black played knight f6, and let's see if the engine rates queen a4 here. And that gives knight e5 as the best move. So queen a4 check. I just wasn't sure if queen d7, it's the best thing to do might be to go back to d1. Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was really giving me too much, this trade. And now d5. You know, I think if black plays into my hands and opens lines here, maybe, but I wasn't even sure if black plays something like e5 here, whether I have a whole lot. I have a protected passed pawn on d5, but I'm kind of blocking my bishop down this diagonal. Though the computer seems to like this quite a bit. Yeah, I think for all intents and purposes, it was fine how I played it. And let's go forward here. Yeah, so rook a8. Yeah, rook a8 is not even in the top 3 engine moves here. Definitely likes a6. Just you hate to play an undeveloping move like rook a8. You're basically admitting that you lost 2 tempi and you gave white queen a4 for free. And my rook coming over. Yeah, computer thinks I can play d5 right away. I think knight c6 is also not bad. It's going to get one of the bishops, but there's better ways to play this. Oh, and it actually hangs the pawn on d4. I don't think I saw that in the game. So, yeah, good I didn't play knight c6. But the position's already so good I can even play d5 here, because if black gets greedy and starts trying to grab material, often bad stuff can happen with a pin on the d file. Black's going to really struggle to get out of this pin. But rook a d1 seemed like an easy move to play as well. And we're already getting up into +1 territory, or close to it for white. So queen e8, keep the opponent cramped. Queen b3. Yep. I think this rook e8 idea is a good one to keep in mind if you play these positions as black, because that may be the best way to try to deal with d5, especially if d5 is inevitable. Maybe to be able to drop your bishop back, or just have some sort of presence down the file. The e file, that is, if things open up. Like put the bishop on d6 and hope you can blockade. Yeah, so queen e8, queen b3, knight h5. And I really like this bishop c1 move. Just seems like a nice way to tuck the bishop back, and white has a monstrous advantage at this point. Yeah, black just didn't succeed in finding a plan. Rook a8 really messed black up. Bishop d6 and knight c4. Yep, and bishop e7 probably should be played. I think it's the only move that doesn't lose material immediately due to this ever-present idea of bishop a3. It's cool. I'm kind of like playing billiards with the bishop when it went out to f4 and then back to c1 and then off the rail, going to a3 in the future. But yeah, bishop e7, d5, as I was describing, I think everything is going in white's favor here. But black can still hope. They haven't lost anything yet. I would try to do this if I were black, just to get the bishop on a secure square. Engine likes bishop a3 here. Take, take. Okay, bishop a3 makes sense. Get rid of black's only good piece, practically. Something like this coming in. Yeah, lines are going to open up soon in white's favor. But not immediately winning. I mean, white still has to work hard here. And final thing we'll check. Let's see what the engine thinks about this sequence. Take, take. Yeah, e5 also says g4 immediately, although I think e5 is kind of the more human way to play it. And again, nothing wrong with bishop a3. It's just I saw this option where I get to destroy the knight as well, and I win the same amount of material, and black's kingside got really loose, so I like that. I think the looseness that occurs on my kingside like isn't as relevant because black just doesn't have any pieces to attack me with. But bishop a3 would be totally fine as well. If it were a blitz game, I might have just opted for bishop a3, just for simplicity. But I had the luxury of time and found this. Again, good knight trap to know. Okay, and I think after this, not too much left to check. I like d5, keeping that flexibility. You know, a more bloodthirsty player may have played strictly for an attack here as white and not ever given black an option to trade queens, but you don't get more points for winning in a flashy way in chess. You got to choose the way that makes the most sense to you, that eliminates your opponent's counterplay or minimizes your opponent's counterplay. And to me, the way I played it felt totally good. No regrets. Yeah, it's just too much. Oh, did I miss mate here? Oh man, I just missed a forced checkmate. Queen g5 and then rook d8. I saw the mate and 3 flash there. Probably by now some of you have written in the comments. Often what happens is I'll miss something during a game and someone will write it and then I'll timestamp them to like whatever it is right about now, and the timestamp be like, yeah, I actually talked about that. Only in the post-mortem though. Yeah, queen g5, that's a good one. Check, and that would be mates. I could even start with rook d8. That's funny. Yeah, rook d8 first. Just change up the move order. And then go after this, whether black plays queen g6 or king h8. So, oops, missed a mate in 3. But this looks so nice as well. Just dominating the king on the back rank. Give this check, force it away, and just gather some pawns. And black resigned. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I think good example of that d5 plan, also using a space advantage. You know, if you're in a cramped position like my opponent was, you should be trying to trade, but you really got to avoid moves that destroy your coordination like rook a8. I think that was the culprit for black. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back again soon with another video.